I don't know. I'm just talking. Hey everybody, my name is Sam. Welcome back to my channel. It's October, so that means two things. One, it's time for me to have these fun little co-hosts, Frankenstein's Monster Luminary and Stuffed Edgar Allan Poe. And also it's time for my September wrap-up. I read 9 books in September, which is less than I've been doing lately, but you know, I think I went too far too fast the last couple months, and 9 is still like a really respectable number, so I'm proud of myself. 5 of them were for Tome Infinity and Beyond. First, I guess I'm gonna go through the books that I read that were not for the readathon. Okay, so first book I'm gonna talk about is The Amityville Horror by Jay Anson. I did this as part of a big buddy read that Dane was hosting over at Dane Reads, and this book is fine. I don't know, it's not the worst thing I've ever read, but it's not particularly scary, and I also don't love the fact that it's presented as a true story, even though I'm pretty sure it's been debunked at this point. Where is Goodreads? Let's have a gander at what I rated it. 2 stars. Next book I'm going to talk about is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I tried to host a read-along for this, and between me not being very organized and staying on top of it, and just more of me not being organized and staying on top of it, it flopped a little bit, so I just kind of wound up reading this with Abby over at Abby Mac Reads, who, by the way, if you haven't, you should check out her channel. She's the sweetest. I love this book. This was my 3rd time reading it. I gave it 5 stars every time. It's got a lot of things to say about why censoring things is wrong, and also about the dangers of new media and how it tends to consume our lives. The next book I'll talk about is Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. I'm so close to done with my reading of the Mortal Instruments and Infernal Devices. I have 1 more left in the Mortal Instruments, and then I will be through them and I will not have to read Cassandra Clare anymore. This one was probably the least offensive to my personal sensibilities. I give it 3 stars. It was like cute. Parts of it made me emotional. I got more invested in the characters, but overall, I'm not gonna say that I necessarily recommend it. And then the last non-Tome Infinity book that I'm gonna talk about is Beautiful Darkness by Fabian Wellman, which is some of the weirdest shit I've ever read. I really liked this book though. I think I actually gave it 5 stars. This is like a graphic story. It's like a graphic novel, and it really fucks with your head. This was recommended to me by Jade over at Jaded Reader because she read it and she wanted to talk about it with somebody, and she was like, Sam's weird, she'll probably get into it. I don't know if that was actually her thought process, but I assume it was. That was a really weird moment. Sorry about it. Anyway, moving on to the books that I read for the Tome Infinity and Beyond readathon. I read 5 books total for Tome Infinity, which is pretty good. I think I need to burp. I don't know. I can feel it coming, but it's like not there yet. So I took Ship D off of Earth, and on Ship D we hit the asteroid belt. So I had to read a new to me author, and for that I read The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers, which was fucking phenomenal. It is about as close a book as I can describe to what I would consider a perfect science fiction story, and I do plan on making a video about what exactly that means for me. But I loved it. I loved the characters. I loved the way that the world and like the universe were put together. I loved the setting. It wasn't like very, very heavily plot driven, but there was enough of a plot there to keep you reading, and it was just so good. I got so invested in what was happening and got really sucked into it, and I was like really, really bummed when it was over. I can't wait to read the rest of the series. So 5 stars, in case that wasn't apparent. Next, when I was in the asteroid belt, busting asteroids, hanging out, as you do, I had to read a space opera adventure, which I buried under my other books. Whoops. For that, I read NOLA by Samuel Delany, which I mentioned in my like vintage suggestions video as one that I was considering. And I enjoyed this, but I didn't totally love it. And I think part of the reason for that is that I was switching between reading this and listening to the audio, and it was a little bit confusing because this book jumps around timelines quite a bit, and in the physical book there's like, it's written at the top of the page, like the year and the location, and in the audio book you don't have that, and so I found it a little bit hard to follow. So I might reread this at a later date and see if just physically reading it makes a difference. And next, from the asteroid belt, I went to Mars. And on Mars, I read Yargo by Jacqueline Susann. I'll be honest, objectively, this book is not very good, but it was really fucking fun to read. I really enjoyed the reading experience of this book, but you could definitely tell this was the first novel that she wrote. The plot was really all over the place and the word choices were kind of messy. It was just like not very polished. It was really wild. It was a sci-fi romance, but the romance didn't really come in until the last couple chapters. Like, the character that she falls in love with was there, but like the indication of actual romance wasn't there until later. I don't know. But I still love Jacqueline Susann. This was fun and I liked it. I think I gave it 3 stars, but if I were looking at it from a perspective of, you know, its literary merit or what the fuck ever, I'd have probably given it like a low 2. From Mars, I jetted my way over to Neptune. Oh, by the way, the qualification on Mars was a book featuring aliens, in case I didn't say that. We all know how much I pay attention to what I'm saying on this channel, but yeah, so on Neptune, I had to read a sci-fi featuring fantasy elements or vice versa, and for that I read Dragonflight by Anne McCaffrey. This is the first book in the Dragon Riders of Pern series, which is the first trilogy in her very, very expansive Pern universe. And this book was really good. I really liked it. The whole sci-fi planet system, all of the characters, the bonding system between the riders and the dragons is all really, really well thought out, and I really enjoyed it. Plus, the main character in this is a badass female, and I definitely recommend checking this out. If you don't want to necessarily invest in like all of the Pern books, this and the 2 books that immediately follow it are a complete trilogy, so if you wanted to, you could just stop reading after that. You don't have to read all, like, I don't even know how many, like 50 books that make up the whole Pern universe. Anyway, I liked it. 4 stars. Finally, from Neptune, I flew to my new home planet, Pluto. And on Pluto, I had to read a vintage science fiction book. I read Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes. This is my favorite book of all time. I've talked about it a lot of times on this channel. You should all just assume I gave it 5 stars, but in case you didn't figure that out, I gave it 5 stars. And that's it. That's all I have to say about that. If you've read any of these, let me know. If you participated in Tome Infinity and beyond, let me know. I'm super behind on YouTube videos right now because I haven't seen everybody's wrap-ups, but let me know if you participated and you made a wrap-up, and I'll make sure to go check it out. Comments down below. Tell me about it. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.